Welcome to EL117 Literary Criticism. Good day, ma'am. I am Ben Morado, and using Marxist Criticism, here's my fruitful and meaningful analysis and interpretation about the story The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. My introduction. Definition of literary criticism. Literary criticism is the disciplined application of theoretical principles for the purpose of analyzing, interpreting, and evaluating literary texts. Moreover, Matthew Arnold, 2019, defined the role of a literary criticism as a disinterested endeavor to learn and propagate the best that is known and thought of in the world, and thus to establish a current of fresh and true ideas. My own understanding about literary criticism. Literary criticism reflects how we express our own views about a specific work. It enhances our ability to compose or analyze the content of a distinctive body of work through our broad, creative, and unique ideas or opinion about the text that we've read. A specific point or reason why literary criticism is important. Literary criticism is important for the reason that it serves as the way how we measure the extent of what we know about a specific work, and how can we provide it an artistic and appropriate idea based on the structure of our chosen type of criticism. Moreover, literary criticism is important because readers will be able to more deeply understand the structure and importance of a certain text they are reading. Short background or synopsis about the chosen story and the form of criticism you've used or implemented. Conclusively, this literary criticism were anchored to the story of The Lottery by an American writer, Shirley Jackson, integrating the school of criticism, the Marxist Criticism. The Lottery is a story about a small rural village that holds its annual lottery. All of the families in the village participate, and the lottery starts by one representative from each family pulling a piece of paper from a box. A man named Bill Hutchinson has pulled the paper with a black dot, but his wife Tessie objects, saying that he didn't enough time to pick. Despite her protests, each member of the Hutchinson family, 5 in total, is required to pull slips of paper out of the box again to see who gets the black spot. In the end, Mrs. Hutchinson gets the black spot and is stoned to death as per tradition of the lottery. My author-dependent interpretation. For Jackson, reality is so complex and mysterious that one inevitably only orders part of it. A character may then discover parts that contradict a chosen order, or that attract one away from the apparent order, but one can never affirm the absolute superiority of one ordering to another. Perhaps, according to her, her work's protagonists are predominantly focused on women. She explores some peculiarly feminine aspects of the problem of ideas of order. Jackson's middle-class American women seem especially vulnerable to losing the security of a settled worldview. Their culture provides them with idealistic dream visions of what their lives should be, and they have a peculiar leisure for contemplation and conversation imposed upon them by their dependent roles. Conclusively, Jackson reveals her message by expecting readers to infer that while in a given society, it is difficult to see the traditions that are kept which hurt the society. The characters certainly show forms of uncomfortability, but they do not do anything about it. My text-dependent interpretation. In answering the text-dependent interpretation, I came up with the 5 questions that Mr. Tamani gives us in his assigned activity from his report. Number 1 question. What classes or socioeconomic statuses are represented in the text? In what I perceive from the text, the story The Lottery portrays discrimination among people in the low middle class. People in the higher and middle class exclude the decision and opinion of the people in the lower class. The story also presents an equal treatment among women in the society. Number 2 question. Are all the segments of society accounted for? Or does the text exclude a particular class? We can say that all segments in the society are accounted for and connected from one another, as it doesn't exclude the reality that unequal or unfair treatments among gender and socioeconomic statuses are justly presented in the text. Number 3 question. Does class restrict or empower the character in the text? Mrs. Hutchinson is the main character of the story. I classified her as one of the lower middle class people in their community. Because as I've read the story, it seems like those have socioeconomic statuses as her doesn't treat equal. And also I've noticed that female or girl in their community has no right on making decision and or giving opinion. I say so because when Mrs. Hutchinson gives her point about the violent tradition they have, it seems like no one wants to agree with her. But instead, they listen to Mr. Summers and Allman Warner's advice, which is to continue the old tradition that later delivers to Mrs. Hutchinson to death. The main character of the story were more restricted than being empowered. Number 4 question. How does the text depict a struggle between classes, or how does class contributes to the conflict of the text? I can say that these aspects helps the text bring more effectiveness beyond what is certain in the society that is timely and relevant. Moreover, ongoing issues like what is presented in the text struggles us in the society. Number 5 question. How does the text depict the relationship between the individuals and the state? Does the state view individuals as means of production or as ends in themselves? Based from the text, it shows some challenges or struggles and relevant events that emanates what we are facing in the community. That can also be seen from the present state of the society. People in the higher class use their constituents as a means of production within their beliefs in upbringing their society. In Bound to Bountiful Harvest, it is set upon wrong outlook or views of an old tradition affected the people that cause an end to themselves. My reader-dependent interpretation. For the reader's perspective, they said that the author certainly succeeded in shocking the audiences with the unforeseeable twists that arose at the end of the story. They did not expect the ending that they've read. Even when they realized that the woman of the family who drew the winning ticket was arguing against the winnings, they had not ever thought that perhaps someone would die as a result. The fact that children were also allowed to participate in the drawing is what really made them nervous. Jackson certainly provided a detailed enough picture in such a few short pages to pull a physical reaction from the audience. They cannot rightfully say that the story was a good one, but it was definitely brilliant. It is still amazed them because the author wrote the piece so descriptively and so intelligently that she can pull physical, mental, and emotional reactions from the person reading the story. My literary conclusions. Conclusively, I felt so sad, especially at the end of the story. Because here in the Philippines, when someone wins the lottery, it gives them such unexplainable emotions. It is not the same when we talk about the lottery they had in their village. In the story, it was so cruel and violent. Because when you win the lottery, it is not the time for you to celebrate your victory. Instead, it is the time for you to suffer for the sake of the old tradition they had in the village. All in all, to wrap the story, it is not just tells about a lottery, but it is also described and shows by the author of how discrimination among women were prevalent among people whose life is under the lower class or lower status. I've seen from the story how women's opinions and decisions were being invalidated by others, most probably by men. I've also observed from the story that whoever has the higher position or power in the community, they are the only one who is often listened by the people. That would be all, Mom. Thank you and God bless.